Hello, everyone. Welcome to our highly anticipated webinar. Don't miss out on new opportunities, a guide to selling Safetica. My name is Anna Milan. I'm the product marketing manager for Safetica. So before we dive into the content, let's quickly go over a few house rules to ensure a smooth and engaging experience for all the attendees. So first and foremost, we highly encourage active participation. So feel free to ask questions using the questions pane or icon. Our speaker will address as many questions as possible during the Q&A segment at the end of the presentation. As per usual, this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be made available to all registered participants. So if you want to revisit any part of the session, you'll have the opportunity to do so. And lastly, we will also prepare downloadable resources that will be shared with you at the end of the webinar. You will receive a follow-up email containing the recording and the presentation deck discussed today. So now that we've covered the house rules, allow me to introduce our speaker. With his extensive experience in the sales field and deep knowledge of the DLP space, we believe he is the perfect mentor to help you sell safety effectively by making sure you don't miss out on any new opportunities. So get ready to learn from one of the best in the industry, Regional Sales Director for Safetica, Lubosh Milan. Take it away, Lubosh.
All right, thank you, Anna. Thank you for the welcome note and the instructions for the participants. I would like to start with welcoming everybody and jump right away to the agenda for today, which we will go through a few points. But before I start with agenda, I want to remind everybody that this session is primarily focused for the partners of Safetica. This is a webinar that is aimed to help our distributor, managed service providers, reseller, and system integrators around different regions globally to learn more about the upcoming opportunities regarding the DLP and UEBA technologies, which Safetica largely covers. And the reason why we set up this session, this webinar, is because we understand that the opportunities for DLP and UEBA is they are already there in the market. There's a market demand constantly growing year on year. We anticipate for the next upcoming years, probably 3 to 4 years, growth at around rate of 23%, in some region much more. And these are the business opportunities that we would like to share with you. But before we do that, we want to make sure that you are equipped and you have sufficient resources to have a solid conversations with your customers, and you can engage with your distribution partners and with Safetica in getting this conversation moving towards actual projects and then potentially a purchase from the customer. So let's take a look quickly on agenda. Today we will look at what DLP and UEBA opportunities are, a little bit context behind it, what customers are looking for. We'll go through the practical use cases, especially looking at the tool, how is it perceived and how is it seen by the customers. So hands-on experience of your customers' employees. And then we'll explain why Safetica is a great tool for enterprise and how we compete against the solutions that are out there in the market. And also success stories. So some of the stories from 3 selected industry: bank, healthcare, and manufacturing. So you can perceive how the customers use the Safetica in these different industries. So with further ado, let's move on to the first topic, which is DLP and UEBA opportunities. So what do customers look for? Before we start this topic, I wanted to share with you that we in Safetica want to help you to get a better understanding of what the DLP or data loss prevention helps safeguard. There are 2 different large groups of data that customers really care about, and we can define it by the first one as regularity data. This subset that they really care about, that is very sensitive for them, is because they are regulated. This doesn't need to be a regulated industry such as finance, healthcare, but it can be any company that has obligation to follow the regulations of the nation, so national security regulations or laws, such as personal data protection. And specifically in Asia Pacific region, around 75% of all the countries recently implemented these personal data protection laws and are now strictly enforced with potential fines. So next type of regulated data could be financial, like PCI DSS, or health, whereas we talk about regulation HIPAA or framework HIPAA. Now, on the other side, companies really care about some data that for them are crucial to move on with their business and be competitive. First, and most obvious, are the customer databases and partner databases. So anything related to their direct business related lists. Next one could be reports. For example, financial reports. They do not want the financial report in Excel format or in any other format like PDF being leaked to an email domain or outside third-party cloud storage without them being even aware of. Next one, business models and plans, specifically for very large companies, but also startups that are very successful in their area, and they do not want their models and plans to be shared, on internet or being passed to potential competitors. For technology companies, very essential protecting the source code. So any technology company, any IT services or software developing companies, for industries such as manufacturing, mining and others, also production, chemical industry and so on, blueprints and product informations are essential as that contain copyright and intellectual properties. Then lastly, for any commercial companies, contracts and trade secrets, anything contained in the legal documents, they should not be leaked. Same thing for law agencies or anything related to services that provide or work very largely with contracts, especially with the information from their customers. So with these two subsets, you understand it's not only about compliance to implement DLP, but most likely customers will be really interested to protect their own sensitive data. So moving on to how this sensitive data can be leaked and how they usually are leaked outside of the company. You can think of, or typically customers think of, one basic scenario, which is cyber criminal, some kind of intrusion inside of the network and or compromise of one single endpoint. When this data is then extracted and or encrypted with a ransomware. Now, these scenarios happen and they happen often, but compared to actual scenario of insider threat, so meaning anything that happens from within company without third-party involvement, it's way more common. So if we look purely on statistics, what happens inside of the company and when the sensitive information is leaked, for 80% of the cases, it's just a mistake. This mistake can be driven by carelessness of the company employees or laziness, not really following strictly the security procedures and policies. But sometimes it's lack of IT proficiency. They don't really understand that uploading the information to, for example, Dropbox exposes the sensitive information to third parties. Or they do not know that, for example, shared folder in Dropbox is available or accessible by any other people, for example, contractors and others. So that may be a lack of IT proficiency, and also in case of lost and stolen devices. On the other side, we have a deliberate leaks. It happens actually in 20% of cases. And this is practically from employees that are either being fired or are exiting the company for any reasons, like starting own business or applying for a job with a competitor. They may take the data with them or the information with them. And we have quite a lot of customers that actually purchase the DLP because of this. Then they realize that there are other employees that are applying for the job within their company that are bringing databases of customers from other competitors. Another case could be intentional harm when there is a really enraged employee and trying to just simply damage the company. And the last one is presuming that the data of the employees that are working with certain data or information that is produced by them, that it's of their own ownership because they created this information, they researched that. But not knowing the company policies that anything that is produced during the work or their business tenure within that company belongs to a company, it's not their own property. So by mistake and or deliberately, they take a lot of information that is sensitive and can use it for their future career. So this is what companies probably underestimate or do not know, and this is a good topic when you introduce DLP to customers that never heard of a data loss prevention or never heard of such cases. Surprisingly, when you do a security assessment with Safetica, DLP, and or proof of concept with Safetica, they get such enormous information about and so many various cases of leaks that are happening in real time every day that they actually get kind of surprised of what's going on, and they would like from that moment on to have full control of their sensitive data. So it's very essential that it's not only theoretical education or demo, but actually looking at their own data. Now let's take a look on why the DLP is becoming more and more demanded by all the or majority of the countries worldwide and all the customers. One of the very important case is and continue to be remote and hybrid work. So because before the customers had their employees quite well protected inside of their networks, corporate networks, they had they relied heavily on endpoint protection, network protection, and some niche cybersecurity solutions. Suddenly, when the employees move out to bring your own devices and start working from home, they lose that control of what's happening when they are disconnected, when they're offline and working from home, if the information that they have contained in their company or personal laptops are not being leaked out. So for that reason, the companies do not really realize how much of their very sensitive information is exposed. And this is important to highlight in your discussion with the customers. Next thing that is important and what drives DLP are the compliant mandates. And this is response of national or governments, response from institutions, international institutions to larger importance of data security nowadays. So according to Gartner, for example, by 2024, 75% of global population will have its personal data protected by personal data privacy. Now, just looking at APAC region, it is surely 75%. We took a look at around 2 or 3 years back. There are quite a number of companies, around 75% or even more, of those that implemented personal data privacy laws or updated them and introduced specific controls that have to be in place. Many of those is understanding the data that are inside of the company pertaining or containing customer data, sensitive data, personal data, and also protecting the transfer and having a control of transfer of the data to third parties. This is in majority of the companies still a non-existing cybersecurity control. They don't have it, and they will start seeking for it. We already see that many countries are starting to heavily generating a demand from the customers are generating demand and asking for data loss prevention tools, as they are oftentimes explicitly required by the laws and or frameworks within the nation. Next one, very important to mention, is the Information Security Management System, or ISO 27000. It has been heavily reduced in its latest version to 2022 version, so from last year. But despite of reduction of technical controls, a DLP explicitly as a technical control has been implemented newly in this norm, international norm, and especially for large corporations or large enterprises who and or service companies that do want to prove that they safeguard the information of their customers and partners that are being certified or every 3 years recertified by this standard will have to now look for a DLP solution and or have DLP in place in order for them to comply and being certified. Lastly, maybe for those that are doing somehow business with European Union also implementing or updates their norms and requirements such as NIS2 and DORA. For individual countries in Asia Pacific regions, there are, as we seen, also national banks implementing specifically for financial sector new regulations that oftentimes contain DLP. So let's move on to user entity and behavior analytics, or UEBA. The opportunities coming from customers or the use cases that are really interested in is to understand what is being used by the employees. So understand the activities of the employees interacting with applications, web application, desktop applications, and websites out there. With this, they can monitor shadow IT or the IT systems that may not be under control of IT team, but also understand what website, whether malicious, whether just free time activities and or websites that are related to web applications directly for their work. So having this done automatically, audited automatically, and report and alerting automatically gives quite a good tool for not only IT teams, but also for management and individual departments to know whether their teams are using the software and websites and how long do they use them, if they're active with those websites, especially for example, contractual employees, if they maximize the the efficiencies that these company mandated softwares are bringing, and or if they're utilizing some non-approved or even browsing in unwanted websites. This is very essential for them to have a full understanding and take actions from there. Next topic for the customers is improve the productivity. So let's say they have a group of 100 employees and they seem to have a worse performance nowadays. They want to understand where this performance or productivity is lacking. By having Safetica UEBA, they can actually see which employees are working full time and which people from their company who is actually working less of the hours, not utilizing the software they're supposed to do, and or are only running the software but not really actively working with it. So with that, they can actually see that productivity and address individually with departments or with the people. Next one, for example, is improving work culture. While this may not be essential for the business, but long-term it is. So of course, working during the work time is quite important. While there's always chance to have a little bit of break here and there if there are employees that are constantly browsing on YouTube for 4 or 5 hours during the day, and even probably disturb with these activities other employees without IT teams or management knowing. This could really help them to address this individually. One of the other topics that is quite common is have insights on email communication of the employees, especially, for example, when they are sending, for example, some sensitive information and any type of information outside of the email domain from their work, for example, to their personal Gmail accounts. Lastly, and quite interesting, Safetica quite well works to save the costs of the companies, and specifically on hardware and software costs. So what are the usually costs of ITs in every large company or even mid-sized company? First, they pay for hardware, they pay for maintenance of the hardware, they pay a person that has to maintain the hardware. The same for software licenses, and somebody who maintains these licenses and also maintains the software for the rest of the employees. These combined is a huge cost and effort. And IT teams of the companies always strive to minimize the amount of hardware and software that is inside of the company. And the way to do it is seen practically, well, who is using what. So if my employees are requesting to use PowerPoint, and for 100 employees, we are purchasing all the PowerPoint licenses, and then realizing that in the last 3 or 4 months, only 2 people used it and only for a few hours, you can imagine how much you can save. So this is just one example of how Safetica UIBA can help address some of the quite important productivity and or saving issues inside of the company. So now let's take a look on real use cases. We'll go through some animation, how Safetica solves customer needs. We will start with a quite heavily medialized topic, which is AI solutions. So you can have AI solutions as part of the applications and or services that are available on websites, and you can have AI solutions already implemented or downloadable and being able to install them on your personal endpoint devices, or they come as extension on web browsers. Either way, let's take a look on what just happened a few months back when everything started to be a little bit more known to the world. And it is specifically a case of Samsung data leaks. In this case, it was meeting notes and source code from their company, whereas in both cases, these became available on ChatGPT or online. It was clearly identified as a Samsung meeting notes and source codes, and of course, this became a huge problem. So since then, the company started looking how to actually avoid the information that is quite sensitive being leaked, not only in a traditional form like email, cloud storage, but also through web services. And so Safetica has currently already had in the past two safeguards to address this use case. One is restricting the clipboard. That means copy pasting certain data or information inside of and practically putting it inside of the website where it becomes available to public. Second is outright blocking access to certain websites like chat.openai.com, which is ChatGPT, on certain user endpoints. So let's take a look on this specific use case. We will take a look on a software developer that is copying the source code of the software that he is developing and trying to paste it inside of the ChatGPT on website. And he's not allowed to do that because Safetica DLP would stop that operation, and he will be seeing a pop-up window being advised that this is not allowed. So let's see Safetica in action for the ChatGPT protection. Here we have precisely the software developer copying the code, accessing ChatGPT website, and trying to insert that code inside of the ChatGPT website. As you can see, he's now writing some instructions for the ChatGPT, and he's going to paste the code, and it was blocked. So the next topic is, or next use case is flexible Safetica DLP remediation action. In this case, we will have a user from a medical institution. So this is a healthcare industry trying to send an email to another doctor that contains very sensitive personal health information of their patient. You will see the pop-up from Safetica that this action of sending sensitive information via email is not allowed, but he will be able, as this was set up in Safetica, provide justification for this single use case with notification to the Safetica administrator why he needs to override this security policy, and despite this not being recommended, still send this email to the doctor. So here we see a person trying to send an email. There is an attachment that in that email with personal health information is now trying to send it to a doctor. And while sending, email was blocked because it contains sensitive information. The employee is advised that it's not possible, but he can do a one-time exception and justify that exception and override that policy. Okay. Moving on with the same use case, but now from the perspective of Safetica administrator that will receive this as a notification that the medical staff was sending in, email with sensitive information to another doctor in different domain, and he can see and investigate in detail this case. You can see what has been sent, when was it sent by whom, and even download the file and see the file inside the PDF file, what has been sent, as Safetica stores the information on the user endpoint. So here we see a console for Safetica administrator. He's looking at one of the incident or case. He's looking at the details of this person sending an email, also the override reason or justification, and he's looking at the file that can be downloaded. Next one are Safetica powerful DLP policies. So the policies that would, for example, in this case, distinguish between safe and unsafe content and allowing customers to work with certain software, but only if the content they are interacting with while using this software is safe. So just to be concrete, in this case, we have a user that is trying to upload information to a Dropbox. First, he's attempting to send out personal picture to Dropbox, personal Dropbox, which is allowed. But as soon as he uses the same Dropbox, personal Dropbox, for sending its sensitive information, this action will be blocked. So here we have a user accessing his own photos in his own endpoint and taking a picture and trying to upload to Dropbox. This was allowed. There's no problem with that. Now he's trying to access a sensitive data of one of the customers and trying to upload it also on the Dropbox. But this is no longer allowed, and there will be a pop-up that this file upload was blocked because it contains sensitive data. Now, we will go to the new topic, which is Safetica user behavior analytics, and specifically productivity report that I mentioned before as one of the commonly used feature and or use case of our customers. So in this case, we have Safetica One console where Safetica administrator can see and or management or HR can see the top unproductive users inside of the company. Let's say this is a group of contractors that were hired for 5 or 6 months of work, and these contractors have different performance and their output, and the company wanted to see whether to keep all of them or replace a few of them and get a new set of contractors hired, and or address the contractors that are not working or not productive with certain notification and working with them actively on that. So in this case, we have 2 people obviously not productive, spending most of the time during the work hours on unproductive activities, which may be highlighted in here, for example, YouTube and Facebook and others. The administrator then can filter by productive, unproductive time, time on web, and can drill down to more details. This is just one screenshot that shows you the quick report on what's going on in the company that can be used by the customers. So we finished some of the use cases, practical use cases on DLP and UEBA technologies. Now we are moving on to the Safetica as an enterprise solution topic. This is very important for our partners to know, as Safetica has many options. Safetica can be offered to customers as a cloud option or SaaS option, but also it can be offered as an on-premise option. And specifically for on-premise, because of Safetica performance, feature set, and support that is out there, is ideal for enterprise customers. Our on-premise solution, additionally, is well rated by the customers globally, and it has several advantages as an enterprise solution compared to competitors. So before we start the topic about comparison with competitors, it's important to understand that DLP, or data loss prevention, as a topic has quite a wide range of possible data channels through which the data can be extracted or leaked outside of the company. Many of the DLP feature sets that are existing in other cybersecurity solutions would not contain even a fraction of possible channels for extraction. And or DLP solutions that are out there may miss some of them, and with that, the coverage, cybersecurity coverage for data protection is not sufficient. And so Safetica as an enterprise solution fully covers all these possible channels of extraction, namely, for example, file sharing on social media, on instant messaging, also on cloud, several public clouds, Microsoft 365 integration with Microsoft Exchange, but also standard email extractions or leaking through internet, as well as removable storage and or wireless connection, and maybe less typical for other, probably not enterprise grade solutions, is also printers and also old style CD, DVD, or Blu-rays, as well as screen capture and copy pasting as an operation. So this is a subset, for example, also this is from the perspective of channels, but from the perspective of content, Safetica can also recognize the characters inside of the, for example, image files or PDF files using OCR, optical character recognition. Moreover, Safetica has been already purchased and has been used by one of the top companies in all of the industries, namely banks, institutions, government institutions, non-profit institutions, but also IT and service companies, car manufacturers, logistics, retail, health institutions, and pharma. So this is just subset of some of our several thousands of customers. You see that enterprise solution from Safetica is trusted by the best brands out there. Now let's take a look on the process when you are discussing with a customer, enterprise customer, and do want to guarantee the success of your business development activities. Typically for software that is relatively unknown, or the outputs and or usage of DLPs unknown to the customers, the best way how to showcase this, the value of the Safetica DLP or UEBA, is to provide not only demo and or trial to customer, but really conduct a security assessment with them and or POC. And specifically, if you do, for example, standard best practice sales, which is providing the information to the customer, then walking the customer through a demo, and finally showing him inside of his environment what Safetica DLP and Safetica UEBA can do for this customer, majority of the customers would actually purchase after the POC. And for this year's statistics, we've POC that has been assisted by Safetica engineers were 83%. So every 5 out of 6 customers this year, when after seeing the results from the POC assisted by Safetica engineers, purchased directly Safetica, and despite a competition being available for them there. So even competing products being run during their POCs. So this is quite high statistics, and that's why we want you to try to follow this best practice and understand that, especially when you have a larger size customer, let's say anything beyond 200, 300, this is really recommended even for smaller size, but for larger size customer, surely yes, and the results could be quite favorable for you. So here I can show you a little bit of a snapshot of one security assessment. This is not even POC. This is just an automated report from, for example, from our SaaS solution, from Cloud Solution, where you can have a automatically generated audit on the endpoints and or environment, digital environment of the company. You can see that 11% of all the transactions or operations were declared as high risk. And some of them were, for example, usage of instant messaging, some risky channels such as RDP, and sending the files outside the working hours, and even using or sending the information to a personal email mailbox. Here it's just a quick summary of channels that were used, extracting some or moving some sensitive information outside of the company, and certain channels of moving the sensitive data and the volume of data transferred. And as you can see, it also contains risky users for quick follow-ups of the company. In this case, John Smith is a high-risk user, was performing over or triggering over 80 notifications, sending around 412 files that are tagged as high-risk operation. Furthermore, Safetica provides for the security assessment also recommendations and implications of such actions. So it helps customers and or our partners to remediate these better together with the customers. In this case, for example, one of the top causes for the risks is based on the built-in policy. The files were transferred to USB, which is tagged as a risky operation. Besides, this data were also sensitive, and it was off working hours, and it was in case of over 3,000 files. So if you look, for example, on individual data extraction channels, like for example, email, in this case, most of the emails were sent inside of the work domain, which is deemed to be safe workspace, so the same domain of the customer. But as you can see, some of the domains may be work related, like SmartLook and or HubSpot, but some of them are obviously not, like Gmail, Hotmail. So for these, in different categories of the emails and content for company, personal, and financial content, the customers can drill down and see what has been sent out. You can see some practical examples, selected examples in these automatically generated security assessment. For example, these are actual files sent by this user from his email, work email, to a certain destination. And here you can see that most of them are Hotmail, Gmail, and so on. These obviously unwanted operations. Safetica provides recommendation for partners and customer to address it. Another one is network shares. So similar scenario, sharing on a network drive certain files by user from their source address on their endpoint device to a certain destination. Lastly, these are external devices, so for example, USB devices that are a part of the company, or private USBs of these particular people or users, and they were sending these files from their laptops to these destinations, which are the uh, external devices. So this is a little bit on topic of enterprise and how to address enterprise. Why is it important to run security assessment and or POC view enterprise? And let's take a look. If you are already having quite a success with your customers, and customer is quite satisfied with, for example, with the results, but still is comparing with other competitors in this space, why would they choose Safetica? So Safetica unique selling points and why Safetica is better than competitors, we would be able to practically summarize it in 6 points. The very first, on the top left corner, is the most important. Safetica is the easiest to implement and use enterprise solution. Its cloud version is also a great and easy solution, even for the teams that do not have, or customers that do not have any infrastructure and any IT team at all. This is quite great for technology that is perceived globally as one of the most difficult to implement and use, such as DLP. So, just to give you a little bit of information around deployment, if, for example, you're using Safetica as a SaaS solution, you can implement in a matter of hours or maximum days for a customer. And if it's on-prem solution, you can have it done in a matter of days or weeks, maximum weeks, as compared to some of the solutions of the competitors, which we'll go through later, take a much longer time. Additionally, Safetica has additional module, which is UIBA, which allows you to have advanced workspace and behavior analysis, the use cases we went through, and provides very clear context to all data. So you can see who was sending the information from where to where. You can see, you were able to see it in a security assessment. Next thing important to highlight is the high environment flexibility. So as I mentioned, really Safetica can be deployed for companies that would prefer to have a more streamlined solution through SaaS and or full-blown enterprise feature solution on premise. When it comes to hardware requirements, customers do not need to purchase a dedicated server for Safetica. They can run on the servers that are already available, and endpoint devices are affected at around only 3% in terms of their performance because of the Safetica agent installed on them. Lastly, to mention, it's important that Safetica is or was developed as pure DLP with UIBA functionality. And it has great integration, for example, to network security solutions. For example, if you work with Fortinet, Safetica has direct Fortinet integration. Also Microsoft Exchange, then Microsoft 365, and also the analytics tools such as Power BI and others. So the integration is hugely important, especially for enterprise customers. Now let's take a look on competitor landscape. In this case, we have the typical large and well-known endpoint protection solutions, Trend Micro and Symantec, recently purchased by Broadcom. For these two competing vendors on DLP, the principal problem is that while they may have enterprise-grade DLP products, these products are, for example, in case of Trend Micro, scattered across 7 different tools. So it becomes quite a difficult solution to deploy, maintain, and update. Besides that, for both Symantec and Trend Micro, there is a very high level of false positives, and it takes a long time to fine-tune the solution, which is taking toll on not only partners, but also customers, as this may not be a great tool fast to implement and maintain without a need of full-time security analyst. When it comes, for example, to a competition force point, there are technology deficiencies compared to Safetica, for example, missing persistent data security. And in terms of the point where the solution is being installed and you need to do audit on certain files, it's very time and labor consuming. Besides that, it takes quite a lot of efforts to install and support the infrastructure requirements for ForcePoint. In terms of Digital Guardian, when you come across that, it claims to have macOS support, but it's very limited. And when configuring and managing policies in Digital Guardian, it's quite cumbersome and challenging for many partners and customers, as also shared on public comparison websites such as Gartner Pre-Insights and others. McAfee, or currently called Trellix, is simply difficult to manage from start, and agents sometimes run slowly on endpoints, especially if these endpoints do not have no sufficient processor memory and or hardware functionality. So with this, we would go through the main competing solutions and why Safetica is better, what are mainly the weaknesses of these providers, and let's jump into the last topic, which are success stories. So first success story is from a medical institution, Regional Center for Blood Donation and Hemotherapy. Their objective was to first ensure comprehensive protection. They already had some cybersecurity solutions implemented, but they wanted to comply with a new regulation. And in majority of your case, this will be personal data protection and or healthcare regulation from within their country. Now, the most important thing for protection for them was actually safeguarding their security of their patients or the data of their patients, personal health records of their patients. So because they have 300 employees and they didn't really want to spend much time on managing the DLP, they are automatically monitoring these 300 employees and seeing if they follow the procedures and security policies correctly. And if they don't, the Safetica is performing the functions of education, explaining the employees through the pop-up windows which actions are allowed and not, and why they are appropriate or not. So here, for example, we have a hypothetical case in this medical institution where employees trying to send a sensitive file to OneDrive, and if this OneDrive is allowed to be used by the health institution, but in the same time, the policy was set that this is not possible because the OneDrive is used by external parties such as contractors, so it's a public location for them. This was not allowed. Another use case is protecting sensitive data, but more importantly, I want to highlight enhancing operational efficiency. So this is not a cybersecurity topic. So Safetica is not used only for data loss protection, but also for enhancing output of the company's efficiency, saving the costs, and so on and so on. In this case, Opalgraph is a industrial printing organization, one of the largest one in the country, that receives around 11 million customer requests a year, and all these customer requests come in file format, whereas the file contains copyright information of their publishers, customers. So obviously all these files are highly sensitive and they cannot be leaked before or after printing. Additionally, this company, Opalgraph, wanted to protect also their internal financial and commercial databases. So everything what is essential for them not to be leaked. And as in previous case, uh, making sure that they comply with security norms and standard. But the case I want to highlight here is that they wanted to really analyze the digital working environment, understand who is doing what, and if that improve their efficiency. So how did Safetica help? After setting the rules and access to company resources and setting up the policies, the people or the employees were assisted and trained what is the proper usage and what is the and also in terms of the access to the data. Additionally, because of the use case of operational efficiency, these companies has integrated Safetica with their Power BI and IT tools to send the information about individual employees' activities to their analytics tools to be able to help their management to improve the activities of the individuals and/or larger departments. Last topic is a bank, KBS, the largest co-op bank in the country. They implemented automated security. That was the objective. To have some professional tool that they do not need to constantly manage. So it's automated activity for them. And main goal was to also achieve the market and industry standard for the banking, as this is becoming more and more regulated. Additionally, their focus is to make sure that their employees are constantly educated on cybersecurity risks and mitigate their insider risk in the company. So how did Safetica help? Safetica automatically analyzes the web and application activities of all the users and educate the employees about risky websites, files transactions, but allowing the customer employees to override the DLP policies if they need to, providing justifications, as we've seen in the previous use cases. I will finish the webinar today with a last topic, and it is the fact that we are supporting our partners, whether they are existing partners under our distribution partners inside of particular countries, and or are completely new and want to initiate their business activities because they also see that data loss protection is or prevention is currently being heavily required by the customers. So what we need to do on our side is Safetica, and what we provide to our partners, existing and potential, is following our onboarding process, providing all the sales and marketing materials, important to provide the detailed information to the customers, such as data sheets, but also understand the competition better. We have detailed battle cards for some most likely to have competing brands, and also educational platforms, so e-learning, but also support center and knowledge base. When this is not enough, our distribution partners can provide channel managers to help you with address some questions. But also we have in-house support and pre-sales team to help you to demo a solution to your customers, but also assist in POCs or security assessment. So with this, we exhausted all of the topics for today. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the use cases, some of the topics that may be helping you to address the requirements from your customers. And now we have the time for questions. It's around 6 minutes. So I will ask Anna if you can please read some of the questions that have been raised during the webinar.
All right. So first and foremost, just to answer a couple of questions, we will send the recording and the presentation deck on a follow-up email. So all of the registered attendants will receive that follow-up email. And while Lubosh will try his best to answer all the questions, those that are more technical or more product focused, we will make sure that our product team will address those. And again, we will answer those technical questions via the follow-up email. So to start off with the Q&A, the first question is, do we have a separate service for security assessment? How is it chargeable?
Okay, so each partner needs to do they need to do a security assessment. The best way to do it is, for example, this is already existing feature set in our cloud solution, so it's already embedded in the solution. This can be done directly. But for example, for one-time specific solution, Safetica One deployed on-premise, we can assist using our distribution partners and or directly with Safetica pre-sales team in doing the security assessment. The way commercially it is done, there is the charging could be per hour, and in some of the cases, this can be as a cost voided. If you see that is a large customer, we are glad to do it also for free.
All right. What is the minimum time period to be allocated for security assessment?
So again, it depends if it's a cloud solution or on-prem. Uh, for the security assessment, generally speaking, if it's on-premise, that would be a few weeks. When it's cloud solution and it's deployed already and running on the devices, because it's assessment of the activities of the users, we also recommend a few weeks. And this is not because of the difficulty to implement and configure, but because we want to have quite a long time to gather as much of information about unwanted transactions and risky transactions. So again, it would be around few weeks, minimum 2 to 4 weeks.
All right.
To
Are
gather,
there,
yeah. Mhm.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that, to gather as much of the compelling information for the top management as possible, as this may be a major driver for them to immediately decide to purchase.
All right. Moving on, any product training video links?
Okay, so for the partners, generally speaking, we have the best way how to move on is to have access to the partner portal and partner resources. One of those is e-learning, and during the e-learning, there are sales and technical trainings that are self-paced trainings. Additional to that, we can provide also technical Q&A sessions for the partners and or demos, technical demos for the partners for them to experience the solution from the perspective of advanced user, technical user from Safetica.
All right, we have a couple of minutes, so I will try to read out questions that are more product related. So Lubash, one question was, can we screen capture without informing the user? Can we take control of the system? Can we capture voice of employee?
So we cannot capture the voice and we cannot take a control. For that, you have different tools that are specifically IT services tools. And to capture the screen without informing user, we do not do screen recording, but in terms of capturing the screen as an incident, this can be done. So just for the specific technical details, I would suggest that we run a technical session with the partners so they can see it. How does it actually look like is when the person is trying to capture the screen is blacked out completely. So the Safetica actually blacks out the screen so the user cannot see what is capturing or capture the capture is being blocked as a function inside of the operation system. But this will be consequently logged as an incident, and the system administrator would be able to see the activity. All right, we can move on to other questions.
We have one more minute. This is again product related. If a customer application is on public or private data center, for example, on cloud, do we have a solution for such setup where DLP can be configured and all data is filtered as per the rule configured.
So I
Is that
understand
clear?
that we are blocking certain application that is publicly available. So
Mm-hmm.
through certain domain, uh, if you want to fill or take this destination as, for example, secure destination and apply policies on that, this is possible. So we would,
Right.
for this publicly accessible application that companies using, declare as a safe workspace and then work with policies applicable for that.
Right. So we're out of time, but last question, can Safetica Cloud or Safetica Next do everything like Safetica One, which is the on-prem one?
So Safetica on-prem contains pretty much all the enterprise features that are available for the partners and customers. The essential subset of that is available in Safetica One. Uh, However, the Safetica One capabilities for size of the companies that typically purchase Safetica Next is sufficient for what the globally most typical use cases are. So shortly answered, no, Safetica Next does not have all the features that Safetica One has.
And I know we have more questions, so we'll make sure to answer those in our follow-up email since we've already run out of time. So Lubosh, can you please wrap up the webinar? Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I would like to say thank you to all of you for your attention and also for those that raised the questions. For those questions that were unanswered or you need to know more details, I welcome you to request for that information from our team. We'll be addressing that offline from this webinar. And uh, this is just to request you also, if you need any support, please reach out to your respective Safetica distribution partners in your countries. And if you are a new partner, please reach out to us. We can help you to be more acquainted with the DLP and UEBA topics and be able to be ready for the business development and technical activities of your customers. Thank you once again, and have a great day, everybody. Bye.